Hi, my name is Paul Shore, and welcome back to another edition of The Street Speaks, a spontaneous speaker's corner for Montrealers, where we give you and your neighbors a completely unfiltered platform to express yourselves about anything. Nothing is off limits. This week, Montrealers are speaking out about the ongoing challenges of gender equality. Some are sharing personal stories of living with a mental illness, and others are raving about how yoga and meditation are helping them stay centered and focused in their day-to-day lives. Also, I've invited singer-songwriter Chris Vellon and poet Imani Tucker up onto the Street Speaks soapbox.
A woman shouldn't laugh loud. A woman shouldn't be spectacular. A woman should not have a very strong personality. A woman...
Is this patriarchal? You're saying that this is what it feels like in Syria?
Yes, in Syria, being raised in a traditional Middle Eastern society.
I think that it's really easy to compare ourselves to the past and say, hey, we're doing better, you shouldn't complain so much. But I still think that there are a lot of problems even today.
I would like to say that it's not a Muslim thing. First of all, it's a patriarchal, it's a macho system that we attribute to Muslim, but that Christians will be as macho as Muslims.
Yeah, I didn't mean to make that inference, but
there are some things that we would look at in our women's studies class, and we would say, look, women are doing that, not that bad. Look at white women's salaries in comparison to white men's salaries, and be like, yeah, actually, the difference isn't that big.
I had to say that because often even Arabs, even Syrians, even will associate that the freedom of the woman is associated to Muslim versus it's not as simple as that. I've been raised by a dad, and I still feel it. I've been raised by a father who thinks deeply that women have different purpose in life than men.
But if you compare, Native women's salaries to white men's salaries, the difference is huge. So it also depends on which woman are you talking about when you talk about women doing better?
You know what, I took a class, it was a sociology class, and it pretty much showed me if everybody was because I can't really relate to just being black, I can't really relate to just being Filipino, but in society, nobody has it harder than a black man other than a black woman. Unfortunately, even though we say there's equality, it's not really true. And I think kind of everybody's guilty of that type thing.
You talking about class more than race, or either way?
I think everything goes together: disability, race, class. If you talk about sexual violence, for instance, disabled women are so much more likely to experience sexual violence than any other type of woman, and that rate isn't going down. That rate's steady. We aren't a lot of the time talking to the most marginalized populations.
Yeah, more people on the street just openly try to pick me up.
Is it rude when they try to pick you up, or is it
Sometimes,
flattering?
yeah. One time I've said no, it's never flattering. It usually makes me feel like I'm an animal, and I wanna
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Changes have been made, laws have been passed, but when we talk about the day-to-day realities of what it means to be a woman, you still have a lot of the same things happening. Women getting called the B word for being too aggressive, or just seen as impolite when they're not being extremely friendly and extremely apologetic for making you have to do something or making you go out of your way. And so I think that those day-to-day things are still not changing, even though we can point to oh, this is a big change, that's a big change. With the day-to-day realities for a lot of people that are still have these repercussions of misogynist repercussions that happen.
I'm proud to welcome back to the show our house band, the ever-reliable, endlessly grooving Skinny Bros. tell me, how old are your boys?
14 and 18, but anytime now 15 and 19.
Okay. So how did having kids change your life?
Oh, it changed everything. This is a vast subject that I'm trying to make peace with. I think as a woman, you have a baby and you come home with that baby and it's like the way I lived it. You're not prepared and your wings are clipped and what could have been isn't gonna be in some aspects.
Oh, dramatic. I mean, my children, I have a son and a daughter. You know, I didn't have a notion of what it is to be a father until I started, interacting with them in French daycare, high school, soccer games, and it was an enormous interaction. I mean, I became their friend.
Emmanuel was raised with my mom, which is an amazing thing. I was raised by her mother in New York. So it's kind of very special because when you have your grandmother in your life, you really learn certain values. And, I used to remember Emmanuel, people coming up to me, and especially in school, and saying, "Oh my God, your son is so polite." But I mean, I don't think it was from us as parents. I think it was more my mother instilling all the values and the religion.
I think they got indoctrinated subliminally, both by me and my ex-wife, about their general politics, about the world. And I think we had children when I was 34, so it was already at an advanced stage. It was, my political notions had already advanced enough for them not to acquire insane views about life.
Now, today sometimes I do circles and I'm surrounded by younger, again, beautiful, bright women. And they're on the verge of having the kids and I'm just dying to tell them, set yourself up in a community of women that's going to be there for you. Because when I had my kids, I remember sitting there breastfeeding, tired, with a sense of isolation. It takes a lot of energy just to wrap your kid up in clothes, get yourself in clothes and get out. And out where? In a mall? I mean, you see that all the time. It's so sad.
No, I think responsibility became very critical. Disappointments also. My son didn't want to go into much for higher education. And, being of an immigrant mindset, it's you don't want to admit it, but it's a disappointment. But at the same time, I realized that he was so smart about so many other things that it didn't really matter. But typically it was a process that I had to go through. I found both of them influencing me rather than my
I really would ask everyone out there who is on the brink of having this experience of parenting children to completely reinvent the wheel. Find your community. I think men need support. I think women need support. I might be wrong. Perhaps in the old system, one would rely on family and parents for support. I think that things are moving along really fast, and I think with every wave of born children and growing individuals, there's so much potential for magic. So I think any set rule is confining very rapidly. So allow yourself to change and look and seek your way and then reach out and put it in action. I think it's the best thing.
I'm happy to welcome to the Street Speak Soapbox, local poet, Imani Tucker.
She's the reason why they say the best things come in small packages. Even though she's got a tendency of being more dramatic than most preteen actresses. You see, my listener Tisa is a genius in her own right, but she was raised during the emo generation, so tears stream down the sides of her face while she cuts her inner agony to the surface in the dark silence that is the night. And I wish that I knew the words that could just magically make everything alright. But I'm not actually a wizard. I just play one in D&D. So while her insecurities have her true spirit trapped and held hostage, I'm constantly searching for the words, or incantation if you will, that will finally set her free. But so far it's just not in me. And I wish that I had the epically uplifting speech or the perfectly crafted mantra that would just solve all of her problems. But I am not Tony Robbins. And as you can see, I don't own a pair of hands that big. But I would use those ridiculously huge mitts to crush and mold her problems into something more enjoyable if I did. Because, you know, I fucking love that kid. You see, my little sister Tisa is a problem for anyone dumb enough to underestimate her. And if you really wanted to know all the dark secrets that she keeps, you would need a team of at least 60 private investigators. Like how the women of this world had for years convinced the beautiful little girl that she wasn't pretty or thin enough, to the point where she would look at the girl looking back at her in the mirror and would absolutely fucking hate her. I was completely convinced that nobody would ever want to date her, and I just want to tell her, sweetheart, you are beautiful and brilliant like Jessie Spano, and someday you'll be saved by the bell and swept off into your college years by both Zach Morris and AC Slater. Slow down. So we'll have time for that later. For now, how about you and I just toil in the sun? And since success is a bit of a problem for you, we'll skip the bottle of rum. But we'll go out, terrorize the town, and have ourselves some of that good old-fashioned, make her poor Ukrainian mother shake her head in shame and sadness kind of fun. You see, I've got this ritual where when I see her on her birthdays, I count the scars along her arms. As I think about all the ones that have finally disappeared, counting the ticks that remain and how they so closely resemble the way prison walls used to depict incarcerated years, and I stop myself and say a silent prayer of thanks for the fact that she's still here. And you know, all I ever wanted to do with this was tell my listener how much I care about her and show how much she really means to me. But I'm not really sure a poem will work. But screw it. It's worth the chance, right? So, Tisa, pay attention and listen closely, you little jerk. I love you like family, and it's a part of my heart that will always bear your name. And regardless of what happens between anybody else and us, our relationship will always remain the same. And if I never get to tell you this to your face, I hope that you know the following is true. I am now, always have been, and always will be extremely proud of you.
What happened to you? Why are you on disability?
I have a major depression.
You suffer from depression.
Depression
Since when?
since 2001.
In there, I have schizophrenia.
Okay.
I have mild psychosis. I've been diagnosed since I was 17 with anxiety.
Okay.
I was in Toronto General for 6 months, and then I was in Queen Vic in London, Ontario for 2 years.
It's a lot of struggle in terms. I can't go back to work. I'm limited to what I could do. And I'm actually a person who's very outgoing, so at the moment I'm a bit shy, which I never was.
The whole stress of school and being away from Nassau and being away from my family kind of made me just take a look at my life, and I found that I wasn't in a safe place in Toronto. I wasn't happy there, so I went to Western, and I went and saw some doctors there. Dr. Rudnick helped me out for about 10 years.
Yeah, being bipolar is not such an easy matter. It's something that people are not so aware of. They say it's a disease of the mind when you have too many projects at the same time and you can focus in the now, but it's hard for me to do that. I take some medication to help with that, and I trust my doctor, and I try to get healthy.
I had a counselor named Melanie, and she was helpful with me for that length of time as well. And in the meantime, I had a kid named Arabella, and she's absolutely awesome. And if you're out there, I'm saying hi to you, Bella Boo. I miss you. I'm gonna see you soon.
She's in Ontario?
She's in Ontario.
Bipolar is something that is unseen, like a cancer or like a tumor in somebody's body. And that is also unseen, and you don't necessarily know that that person has cancer, like you don't necessarily know that this guy is bipolar or schizophrenic or so on and so on.
I wish more people would come out and say, I'm bipolar, I'm schizophrenic, I'm suffering from a mental illness and I have no control over my mind sometimes, because so many people end up at a point in their life where they don't have control. I know people who've thrown away their lives because they were not mentally well, and it gets too much.
I think there's a lot of stigma against mental illness in our culture right now, and that really bothers me because I have a lot of friends with serious mental illness, a lot of family members, and there's this myth that mentally ill people are like always dangerous or something, and I find that really disturbing, that's when they're some of the people that need help most.
I'm the first one to know that when it gets too much, my fiancé will become the worst enemy of mine. And that is not something he has to go through. It's a disease. So if I treat it that way, and I say I'm bipolar just like someone would say I'm diabetic, then people get destigmatized from the craziness of it all.
I don't know, there's obviously a stigma attached to people that are schizophrenic or have bipolar or manic. They tend to think that they're gonna recluse or be verbal or attack you or something. It's not that. It's just a lot of times we suffer in silence. I'm happy where I am. It's not necessarily like a bad thing. It's just a difference. And I think we all have differences, and that's what makes us all unique.
We should celebrate our differences, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, starting to talk about mental illness at a young age is important. Informing the youth about various kinds of mental illness, but not making it seem like this other thing that like only others suffer from. It could easily happen to anyone, and so.
It's painful for people, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's painful, but it still needs to happen.
I'm happy to welcome to the Street Speak Soapbox singer-songwriter Chris Vellon.
Every time I hit the south, something loosens up my mouth, and I can't account for what comes out, a whimper or a shout, and I eat right from her hand, lying in the sand, the sand, the sand, the sand, the sand, the sand. She will rake me over stones, pulverize and bleach my bones, and I'm trying hard now to ignore what is washed up on her shore. Mangy dogs at her command, howling in the sand, the sand, the sand, the sand, the sand, the sand. Count your ribs and love the storm. You died on the day that you were born, and here no amnesty you'll find with the rebels on your mind, and it's hard to make a stand buried in the sand, the sand, the sand, the sand, the sand, the sand. Everyone here is her child, all the pigs are running wild. In these latitudes of shame, the sun will melt your brain. It's spelled out in bullet holes and rust. Who are you going to trust? And this didn't go as you planned. Buried in the sand, 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 the sand.
Why are you doing yoga? Why?
Yoga is a personal path of self-realization.
You're heavily involved in yoga right now?
Yeah, that's essentially it. I guess I came here when I was like 18 years old, and I sort of expected to go to school and then sort of move off somewhere else to start my adulthood, except I did my teacher training here. I got really heavily involved in the yoga community, and I started being offered work.
And after years and years of exploring different sciences of self-realization and what the body, mind, being is and how it relates to the external world, I decided people have asked me to teach. I work healing with people for a lot, and so people have asked me to teach, so I started taking it more seriously.
Well, I don't always wake up motivated. So then I have to sit down and do yoga. I have to do the meditation, and that guides me and opens me up to get myself out of the way so I can do the things that I have to do.
You try to do it every day?
No.
No? Give no time?
I'm just human. No, because other things get in the way. And yeah, life gets in the way. Absolutely. And it's okay. Wherever you're at, it's okay. And then you go back to it. And then you leave and you go back to it. And then you start equating staying with it is really, really good. So you tend to not slip up too much.
Well, I guess people are looking for ways to connect with themselves. And like a lot of people still think of yoga as the asanas or the physical postures, but yoga is so much more, and I think that's probably what's affecting it. The type of physical exercises and stretching makes people feel amazing.
Well, for me, it was like at first, like I just really wanted a way to be in my body, so a form of physical exercise that didn't seem strenuous or like you were attacking yourself.
It's not that other exercises won't make you feel great, but yoga, the way you do yoga, from a good teacher at least, it does so many things. I could really get into it, but your whole central nervous system is affected by it. So I think that is probably one of the things that once people try it, if they gravitate to it, they might prefer it than lifting weights. They might want to incorporate it as well as other exercises.
But then when I got more and more into it, it's like the philosophies that the teachers were talking about were things that I thought about on a regular basis. And so it's kind of like I found people that thought the way that I did.
I started doing yoga as a body-mind thing, right? Okay, I'm getting exercise and I'm relaxing my mind, and those are cool together. All right. But then that sort of became something else and sort of brought this stillness that brought direction that I never would have expected into my life.
Brings people together?
I think so.
Yeah.
You can meet people and you know that you're not the only one experiencing stress, and
Everyone is.
yeah.
So I think yoga has this power of focusing the mind and getting people out of the left brain into the right brain. So there's so many benefits. I think that's why it's mushrooming.
Okay, so
And
let's rewind.
any one sentence about this wouldn't do spirituality justice. Spirit is whatever you make of it. It's however you come through with it. It's whatever you manifest with it. And we're all individual and unique, so no laws, no rules. Actually, yes, laws, but no rules.
No matter what level you're at in your yoga practice, even if it's just I'm doing yoga and it's awesome, you know, that kind of thing, it's still leading people to the next level of being their better self. So, yeah.
That wraps up another edition of The Street Speaks. Thank you, Montrealers, for sharing, and thank you for watching. A special thank you to Skinny Bros and to singer-songwriter Chris Vellon and poet Imani Tucker, who took to our soapbox. If you want to get in touch with me, don't be shy. I'd love to hear what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and I can be reached at thestreetspeaks514@gmail.com, and you can also find us on Facebook and on Twitter. Join me next week as Montrealers are sharing what they would do if they were mayor or prime minister. Some are also sharing stories of how losing a loved one has changed their lives, and others are speaking up about what we can do to help those around us living with a disability. Also, I've invited singer-songwriter extraordinaire Emma Jean up onto the Street Speaks soapbox. See you next time. The Street Speaks. My name is...
My name is Nadia, and you are watching The Street Speaks. I can do it again.